All right. Ian, what's new with you out there, man? Over in New Zealand.
Yeah, our son Daniel, he's at camp at the moment. He wanted to come home yesterday, but he decided to stay another day. So really proud of him, It's perseverance and sticking at things. So really, really awesome. But he'll be coming home later today, so we're looking forward to seeing him then.
Awesome. Awesome.
And
So
you guys have got Hadar in the States at the moment. Are any of you catching up with him while he's there?
Yeah, Hadar's in, I think, Arkansas, right?
he was in
That's right.
Houston and in Arkansas. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
that's great. Hey,
He's
Mecca, good
busy,
morning.
man.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So I'm tuning in while I'm lifting.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you joining us from the gym? What are you doing?
Join, join us in the gym. I'm on the foam roller right now. I'm just getting ready, getting prepped. Takes me like 30 minutes to warm up. I'm getting old.
That's a true athlete.
Mecca,
Hey, Mika.
you're not getting old, my friend. I think it's just a state of mind with you. You're pretty young, dude. If I busted out an hour and a half workout already this morning, you got this, dude. You got it.
I hope so.
Hey, Jared. Good morning. All right. Wait a couple more minutes, see everyone dropping in, and then we start rolling. What do you think,
Yeah.
Eric?
Yep, I agree. Let's do it.
Awesome. 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 Anyone else has some big plans for the weekend? Or is it just football?
Well, Alex, if you really would like to know about my plans,
Yes.
I'm going to go out and shovel snow, which is super exciting. And I know really contributes to our paparazzi lifestyle here in Michigan. And then I get to work on real estate all day, which of course makes me very, very happy. Um, because, I have to get everything done by Sunday at 8:15 at PM because of course my Lions are finally on TV on the national stage, actually projecting to be a winner-ish.
Yes. Yes. That'll be an exciting game.
It will be. It's not win or lose. I'm just glad they're there. Oh, Mecca, whatever. Go Cowboys. Are you for real, dude? Because if we win, we're gonna have to probably go to Dallas. And we were hosed that last game. I don't care what anybody says.
That's all
We're
good.
really good at home.
That is true.
Oh, Ian, that's rugby, right? All Blacks. Is that right? Yeah. Yep.
Waiting for the snow apocalypse.
Snowpocalypse.
Are you getting some snow, Keenan?
That's funny.
I've been shoveling myself.
We got our first big winter is here snowstorm yesterday, so it was fine. And it was perfect because it didn't cancel school.
There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. Well,
Let's get started.
let's get started. Eric, why don't you kick us off?
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say good morning. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at 911 Real Estate. This is educational in nature. We're here to provide value. We're here to provide education. We're here to provide a supportive community for both healthcare professionals, obviously, and non-healthcare professionals or people who are concerned about health. We just want to, read this disclaimer that all information provided herein has been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but may be subject to errors, omissions, and changes without notice. Dr. Alex Tam, Eric Tomei, 911 Real Estate and its affiliates make no representation, warranty, or guarantee as to the accuracy of any information contained herein. This presentation is for educational purposes only. Let me assure you that we've done our research multiple times before we obviously have presented anything to you, but we just have to do that as obviously a legal disclaimer.
Awesome. Awesome. And as medical professionals, we relentlessly dedicate ourselves to the health of others. And, our work is more than a job, right? I mean, it's a calling for a lot of healthcare professionals. And we make a commitment to make other people's lives better. But at the same time, while we do all of that, I want to make sure that all healthcare professionals and all of us are doing our part to make sure that we take care of ourselves by securing our future, just as well.
So this is me. I'm an orthopedic physical therapist. I've been one for over 20 years. I love the field. It's great and a privilege to treat patients each and every day, because you really do feel like you are having an impact in their lives. As most healthcare professionals, that's exactly why they go into their field. I've seen everything from head to toe. I can read x-rays. I can consult with doctors. It's really, truly a gift and a privilege to treat patients and to help everybody and see the progress. Because really, in my opinion, happiness equals progress, right? Or progress equals happiness, right? And that's something that I get to see every single day with my patients. So it's truly, truly a blessing. This is my family. This is a very, well, I guess kind of an old picture. My wife, Michelle, has been a financial advisor for 25 years. We've been married for over 10. Actually, yes, 10. No, my gosh. Oh my gosh, is this being recorded? We've been married since
She's not on the call. She's not on the call. Okay.
2014. Holy cow. My gosh, I'm already making a slip up this morning. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this. We've got 2 kids that are now 13 and 11. I'm real simple to understand. I love food. I love sports. I love real estate. Those are my things. And I love people. So this is just an old Halloween picture that we took probably about 7 years ago.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, my name is Alex Tam. I'm a chiropractor. For the last 15 years, we've ran our integrative medical practice where, just like Eric, I read x-rays. So, but on top of that, we help a lot of people with disc problems. We use regenerative medicine, stem cell therapy, spinal decompression laser, really offering a holistic approach to chronic pain as well. And from there, we got into real estate in 2018, started a virtual assistant agency, and the rest has been history. It's been so much fun. My family and I, there's my wife, my daughter Addie, and my mom. We well, I'll say 30% of the time live in Vacaville, where the practice is. About 70% of the time live in Lake Tahoe, in Zephyr Cove. So we love going to the outdoors, paddleboarding, hiking, just went snowboarding yesterday. But now I'm protecting myself a lot better with wrist guards, padded pants, just to make sure I don't get injured.
As experienced real estate investors, gosh, we've dealt with so many investment opportunities, as you all have too. Sometimes you see multiple deals that come across your desk every week, right? So it's important that, when you're looking at each deal and going through the underwriting, going through the operators, and going through that vetting process, that it is a very detailed and thorough process, because especially when there's, investors' money on the line, or potentially your own money on the line, right? That's important. This is part of the key to our investment strategy. As we all have heard, we've heard of deals that sound too good to be true. We've heard of horror stories about, buildings getting into foreclosure because of bad debt. That's nothing we want to ever deal with. That's really what we want to avoid at all costs, obviously. We're here to obviously create a great community, but we're also here obviously to make money and to make our lives easier through owning generational real estate. So today's topic is a great topic that I think not a lot of people talk about, and sometimes a lot of people overlook. And this is the ultimate guide to vetting multifamily operators. Now, we've all seen on various social media platforms and channels, people are, saying, hey, I need like $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Does anybody want to partner with me? And literally, I've seen it myself. You get 20 to 30 responses. Okay, DM me this, this, this. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know it was that easy
Yeah,
to
we
raise
just saw
money.
that the other day, right?
Right. I didn't know it was that easy to raise money, right? And that's, if that's your comfort level, that is completely, there's no right or wrong way to do stuff. But we feel that this is the more appropriate way to do it. There is a vetting process for multifamily operators, because the last thing that you want to do is you don't want to get to a situation or a point, perfect timing on the slide, my friend. You don't want to lose money. The goal of any investment, never lose money. Now, have we all experienced a loss of money because of an investment before? Absolutely. Nobody is undefeated. Nobody is perfect, myself included. So the goal in multifamily or any kind of commercial real estate investing is to never lose money. And that's why it's so important to vet the operators. When I take I actively capital raise for projects. We've done two, September of 23 and December of 23. It's our responsibility. We have a financial and fiduciary responsibility to the investors to never lose money. So I don't put a deal in front of and neither does Alex. We don't put deals in front of our investors if we feel like that there is a red flag, and it could be multiple red flags. It could be just not maybe connecting with the investor as much as possible. It could be the location, it could be the underwriting, it could be a combination of all three. But the last thing that you want to do is have a phone call or a Zoom chat with an investor and say, hey, not only are you not getting your money back, but you're not getting anything back. And that's just never a situation that you want to encounter. You want to make sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that who you are doing business with is the utmost in ethics, integrity, and financial success. So we say it's important to proceed with cautious optimism, right? So everything can sound good in a deal, right? I mean, everybody's pitch deck is great. Everybody thinks that their deal is going to do a 2x equity multiple and, preferred return of 8 to 9%, and, average cash on cash might be 10%. That's all fine and dandy, but it's a track record. What have you done in the past? What are you doing currently? What are you planning to do in the future? If something does not seem right with the deal, any kind of red flag whatsoever, it is a sign to you to not move forward with that particular deal.
No, that's absolutely right, Eric. I mean, we've seen so many different things that over the years where it's like, probably that doesn't seem right. That doesn't feel right. A lot of times your gut tells you it may not be right, but we don't know how to vet. What's the vetting process? And today, this second part is we need to show you what the due diligent process actually looks like, right?
Yes.
Like how do we vet? How do you vet? Many people just do so much trust, but not verifying. And I feel like we need to verify everything. And this is just the beginning process of the verification. As an investor, these are some of the questions that you should ask. And afterwards, we'll open it up to maybe some of the things that you guys have gone into, right? Where the due diligent process, you wish you would have done more. But number one, we always find out from operators, have they done any full cycles? Full cycle meaning they have gone from purchasing a property and they've refied and then exited the property and return and help their investors make money. How are their full cycles, right? Because when you look at deals, these deals is like a business marriage. Are you ready to be married to these potential operators for the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years? The third thing is, what is their track record? What does their track record look like? Maybe they haven't done any full cycle deals, but what has their track record been like? And have they done it throughout time? Are they completely brand new to this, right? How can they prove to you that they are doing well? How many deals are they currently in, right? Similar sizes, similar markets. The reason why we ask that is because let's just say you're being pitched a 50 unit, right? But the deals that this operators have had are all 4, 5, 6, 8 units. And then they jump to a 50. Well, you have to know as an investor, for us as well, how are you going to go from 6 to 8 and then boom, jump to a 50? Who else do you have on your team that can do that? In the market, do you have boots on the ground? Have you done something like this there? Or have you never done deals over here before? And these are so important questions to ask. Are they self-managing these deals? Or do they have a third party? And there's a big difference between self-management and third party. Self-management, you have full control. Third party, you have to rely on someone else's control. Have you worked with these people before, right? I've been in situations where we've had to churn multiple third-party management companies because they were just not on the same page. Have you had any capital calls, right? Capital calls is when a deal somehow did not go to plan and they needed more money. And if they don't get this money, you lose the deal, right? What were the reasons for these capital calls, right? Was it just negligence? Or was it something that the market just, you couldn't control? For example, no one knew that over the last couple of years, interest rates were going to triple, quadruple, right? So how do you mitigate that risk, right? Who's on your team? What role does each person play? You know, in the main operator team, you have to know what are they doing, right? What is each person doing? Do you have boots on the ground? I will not do a deal with someone who doesn't have some boots on the ground process. That's just my rule. Because if something goes south, you're just going to have to fly someone in there. Who's going to be there, right? How's the property management? What are their experiences? Okay. What is the company's goal for the next 12 months? What does it look like? Are they planning to just acquire, right? Are they acquiring too quickly? We've seen companies, Eric's and I, that just keeps acquiring one after another. And do they have a good foundation to keep acquiring? Maybe, maybe not. Do they have the infrastructure for that, right? How about references? People who have done deals with them before, are they okay giving the references? What do the projected returns look like? You know, cash flow versus appreciation. Does it seem real? I mean, talk to your peers, talk to your friends, right? Yeah, 3 years ago, they might be looking at, oh, well, we're going to get rents, 10% rent growth. If an operator tells you they're looking for 10% rent growth year over year, that would be smoking something. I'm just saying, right? Now, Smitty, you ask, how do you verify the operator if they've never had any capital calls? Well, if they've never had any capital calls, that's wonderful. But then that's where all the other questions come in, right? Talk to the investors. What do their deals look like? What does their past projected returns look like? And I would ask the hard questions. I would ask, how do you plan on mitigating against these risks that could be coming up? You're telling me that refi might happen at 4% in 3 years. Well, how do you know? And what would happen? What would happen if the refi went to 8%? Does the deal just collapse? Right? So important. How do you mitigate risk?
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, Alex. Especially Alex really hit on a huge point that is, you know, a big one for me too. I will not do a deal unless there's boots on the ground. Now, the boots on the ground can be maybe an hour to possibly an hour and a half. If somebody can drive to the property in a short amount of time, then I am good with it. But if there is no boots on the ground there, I am not doing the deal. There's no
Right.
way. And I'm not presenting it to any investors either. There is absolutely no way. And as far as the capital calls, sometimes, you know, as we touched on, capital calls aren't necessarily horrible, okay? But it does raise a red flag as to the strength and the structure of the investment in the deal. And so this is just a brief summary of due diligence. So we provided a checklist of just kind of due diligence items, but really at the bottom line is, right, there's three things. You want to make sure, one, the operators are great. If you've passed that test, then you go to the location of the deal, right? And if you've passed that test, then you can actually look at the numbers and the underwriting of the deal. If you do not pass number one and number two, the operators of the location, or if something you feel is not correct, don't even bother looking at the numbers, because the numbers won't matter, because the other two things you have to pass those two tests first before you get to the numbers. So honestly, Alex and I have talked about this many times before. We do a background check on the operators or any potential operators that we are going to potentially enter a deal with. It is very, very important to do a background check. I welcome any background checks on me, as I'm sure Alex does too. Google me. I mean, I don't have anything to hide. I'm an open book.
I talk to my high school friends.
Yeah, right. I mean, honestly, it's all good, right? But this process is kind of a multifold process, right? You're going to look at their social media accounts. Does anything look suspicious? You're going to look online. Has, you know, God forbid, if they been convicted of a crime, what crime was it? You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to do to make sure that you are getting into a business marriage, because that's really what it is, with the right people. So if anything raises a red flag on any kind of operator issue, it would be a clear sign to me to maybe move on, because let me tell you, there is no shortage of great operators and great deals out there, even in the recessionary time that we're going through right now.
Now, Smitty just asked a question. Would
Oh,
you
yeah.
invest in operators that don't have any money in the deal? If yes or no, please explain the criteria. Now,
Smitty, that's a great question. That's a fantastic question, because we've run into that many times. Alex, I know, has too. I'll answer it, and then maybe Alex can give his opinion too.
Go for it, Eric.
So in my opinion, Smitty, I would certainly want the operators to have some quote unquote skin in the game, right? Because it shows that they have confidence in the deal. Now, having said that, timing for deals is everything. You might not be liquid at the time of the deal with a particular operator. The operator might not be liquid at the time. Okay, that happens. So what some operators might do, or at least this is what I would offer to my investors, is, hey, okay, if I'm getting an acquisition fee, if I'm getting an asset management fee, if I'm getting any kind of fee from the deal, I would announce to my investors, this is what I am putting into the deal in good faith, so that I have something in the deal rather than nothing. So that's personally how I would handle it. But to answer your question directly, would I invest in the operators if they don't have any money in the deal? I'm gonna lean towards no, just because it doesn't give me that safety net or that little bit of security that I would need to feel confident and comfortable moving forward.
I'm a hard no. I'm a hell no. Okay. If you don't have any money in the deal, you don't plan putting any of the acquisition fees back in, that's a pass for me.
Yeah.
That's an absolute pass. If you can't even believe in your deal, how am I supposed to believe in you that you're going to do what you need to do to put your best efforts in the deal? You got no skin in the game, right? Because here's how it works with a lot of operators. Yes, they make money on the front end, they make money on the back end, right? And if all you're counting on is if you're going to make the money on the front end, but you don't put any money back into the deal, there is zero. You're not on the hook for anything, right? You're just, if anything goes south, well, I won't make anything on the back end. So that's a hard pass for me. I've been approached by people. Well, and I'll ask them, well, what are you putting in? Well, you know, my money's tied into this, my money's tied into that. You'll give me all kinds of bullshit excuses. And that's how it is. And I'm like, no, I'm good. That's
You know
not
what? Ultimately, Alex, honestly, that's exactly, I think, how most investors would feel, right?
right.
Because like if you don't, and it's a confidence thing, right? So if you're willing to obviously go out and say, hey, I need whatever it is, $2 million, $3 million for this deal, but you're unable to put anything in the deal, then it might be a question of the operator's finances and how they operate the rest of their finances. And could that carry over into this
Yeah.
particular deal that they're presenting you with, right?
Like, are they spread a little too thin?
Sure. Yep.
Are they spread too thin? So I would that's a great question, Smitty.
Yeah. Really good question because we encounter it a lot. So,
Yeah.
this is also very important. How many full cycle deals have they done? So basically, a full cycle deal, if it's one which the operator purchases a multifamily building, adds value to that property or not, depending on the situation in the property, increases the rents and overall value, and then completes the sale of the property. That's what we define as a full cycle deal. So you do want to be associated with operators, obviously, that have done full cycle deals. Now, is it a deal breaker if they do not have a full cycle deal? In my opinion, I'm going to need to see how their remaining properties that have not gone full cycle that they currently own, how are they performing right now? So that's really key for me. So it's certainly not a deal breaker, but it doesn't necessarily inspire the confidence all the way, that they've taken one from start to finish, right? So you always have to plan with the end in mind. You always have to have the exit strategy for the deal. So if you have not done that, do you have people on your team currently who have been through full cycle deals that can guide you through that process? So that obviously would increase the confidence level in doing so. Um, so that's the question. Is it a deal breaker? For some people, it absolutely is a deal breaker, and that's fine. For some people, it is not a deal breaker at all, and that's absolutely fine. Everybody has their own investment criteria that they judge deals by. But it's so important to begin with the end in mind. If you run into an operator that says, well, yeah, we might refi or sell in 3 years, 7 years, 10 years. Well, what are we doing here? Like, you have to have defined parameters. There's a lot of money on the line here, right? So that's very, very important to understand the psychology of the operator that you're dealing with and how serious they take the details, because it's always in the details.
Now, I want to take a pause just to make sure we get our social media right. Can everyone turn on their camera? I want to take a screenshot
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely. That's
get
great.
this posted. All right. Let's do that. Let's do that. Everyone's working out, eating breakfast, chilling, right? Okay. We're going to do a countdown. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to shoot that over to our amazing VAs on the call. They're going to probably get this posted before the call even ends. Here we go.
Oh, you know
Sweet.
what? I didn't even address this question that Smitty left in the chat here. What if they say they save their money for rainy days? It's a good question. And Alex, you responded, that's a no-go for me, Smitty. And I would also agree with that, because what are they saving it for? Like, if this opportunity isn't good enough, then what opportunity that you define is good enough to put your money into?
Right.
So yeah, that would be a no-go.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I hear you. I'm the same way. So, operator checklist, right? Evaluate an operator, how they respond to adversity. Ask an operator a question. You should come up with a worst case scenario question. What if interest rates? Like, one of the questions is they plan to refi. Okay. Right now, let's just say it's 7%. They said they're going to refi at 6.5. I'll ask a question. What if it was at 8? What happens to the deal? Right? Is that a capital call deal if it goes to 8? What would you do? Right? What was the worst thing that has happened? And how did you deal with it? Heck, I asked that to interview people. Like, what's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? How'd you do it? Right? It's really like dating someone to see if their core values match with yours, right? And what you're looking for as a person. Because I got into this thinking it was all about numbers a few years ago. Then I realized it's all about the relationships that you've built. And we're in it for the long haul. And if they're in it for the long haul, they should be completely transparent. They should be an open book. If you feel like they're trying to hold things back and not letting you know, I don't know if you guys been in relationships where they're like, oh, let me check your credit. Well, I don't know about that. You don't need to see that right now. Right? Then it's not a good match. Find out how well you connect with them, treating it like a business marriage, because that's what it comes down to, right? To see if you will, at the end of the day, make an investment or not. It's like a relationship. You're going to tie the knot or not, right? So it's so important to make sure you have your list, have a checklist, and make sure you do your due diligence.
And it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing one way or the other. Once you reach a decision, it's actually almost a relief. If you don't feel like it's moving forward with that particular operator for one reason or another, that's okay. You're in charge of, you're in charge of the bus here, right? You're the driver. You decide what you want to do with your real estate investments. And certain things work out and some don't, and that's okay, right? So one of the things, that Alex touched on is just the personal connection with the operator too. So, and we all know that when you're, vibing or jiving with somebody like really, really well, you can sense it. It's not forced. It is very natural. The conversation flows well. There's a lot of good laughter in there. It's a lot of relation of connection of personal experiences. So do you particularly like this person as an operator? Can you handle even being on meetings with them, phone calls, texts? How do they Alex, you said it perfectly. How do they react to adversity or challenges, right? If you like this person, that is a first step. That does not mean that every person you like, you should go into business with. There's plenty of people I like that I've gone into business with that I wish I hadn't. Okay. So that's just one little piece of the puzzle, but that's an important piece of the puzzle as well. Okay. And does the operator, are they honest? Are they transparent? Are they saying what are facts? Here's the thing. The difference between the truth and facts to me are the truth is people's perception of what reality is. The facts are actually what reality is. I'm not concerned about the truth. I'm concerned about the facts that the operator is telling me. Can you back up the facts, black and white? So again, that's just me. That's how I operate. I don't think it has to be complex at all. I think you have to have just a good understanding of goals, values, and ethics, and then you move forward from there. A lot of stuff that Alex, and I have talked about with particular operators is, how long have you known them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people, and again, this is not bad or good. It's each individual's preference. They'll meet somebody on Facebook and 2 weeks later they're in a deal with them. Okay, well, that's fine. No big deal for them. However, it's not how we would operate. We have to, we got to get to know you. We got to eat with you. We got to know your story. We got to know your background. We got to know where you came from. I think people's stories and backgrounds are fascinating anyway. So I kind of dig listening to people's life story. I think it really paints the whole entire picture of who they are as a person and how they operate as a business person. So again, different people have, different criteria. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're just sharing our criteria. And in terms of time frame, people ask, well, how long should you get to know somebody before? Well, I mean, personally, for me, it's at least 6 months to a year. I have to have regular conversations with you. I have to have text messages with you. I have to have a good vibe and a good feel for who you are as a person and who you are as a business person.
I mean, if you're doing a 506B deal, the SEC requires 30 days, right? So
Yeah.
if the government's requiring you 30 days, you
Right.
should probably give a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And again, okay, so even if you get along with the operator and everything is great, right? it doesn't mean a deal can't go sideways. Like there's no guarantees with anything, as we all know in life, right? So you have to be prepared for that, right? So those are just some of the things, that I look for. For me, one thing, and I know maybe I'm being, overly picky about this. When I meet with somebody, and maybe this is just the old school Italian stuff in me, but if somebody doesn't look me in the eye, I think that that's a little bit of a red flag, because it's like, okay, eye contact is important, right? When you're addressing somebody. If somebody does not have, I know we've all been in this situation. I call it the limp noodle or the wet fish handshake. Like, I'm not saying tear my arm off and like destroy my biceps, right? But I'm saying, I don't want a limp noodle either. That's important. Those are little things that are important, because you're like, okay, what's the deal with this here, right? Could be me just being completely neurotic about stuff, but just a couple nonverbal cues that I always look for.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, communication is the next key. Communication is the key to any successful multifamily or commercial transaction. Some of the questions you should be asking is, how will you guys be communicated during the course of a deal? From the acquisition, right? How communicative are they? Can you reach them by email, text, phone call? Are they easy to talk to? Because I promise you this, the operators are going to be on their best behavior when they're trying to get your money. No doubt about it, right? But if during that time they're not even on their best behavior, okay, while you're looking to invest, and if they're not helping you with, okay, the wiring process, signing all the forms, are they walking you through it? Do they have videos? I mean, how are they doing it on the front end? Or are they just saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, it's in the paper. Don't worry about it. Da, 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 da. Just signed at the bottom. Red flag for me. The frequency of communication. Is it weekly during the deal, monthly, quarterly? When do you provide progress for the particular project? Do they have milestones? Are the operators easily accessible? Can you schedule a phone call with them and expect them to hop on? I'm not saying right away, but maybe within that week or so, right? Can you shoot them a text? Are they going to respond? Are they ghosting you from the beginning, right? So part of it, the only way to know is by you communicating with them, but also talking to the other people who've invested with them. Hey, how's your communication? Right? And finding out that way as well.
And just to add to what Alex said too, right? The accessibility of the particular operators is so vitally important, right? Especially when you're dealing with a first-time investor. New investors, and this is not a good or a bad thing, right? But they do need a little bit more guidance at the beginning, right? And that's fair, right? Because they haven't been through this process before. So that's really really a focus that I look for, or a point that I look for, is that how accessible are the operators, right? And if they say they're going to communicate weekly, monthly, whatever it is, do they do it? Do they follow through on their communication? Are they good with their word, right? So that's again another, I think, vitally important thing to look for. And then just so that everybody knows, we obviously, Alex and I, and many people on this call, love investing in real estate for one reason or another, whether it provides, excuse me, long-term security or short-term cash flow. Okay. But really, we're all in this together in terms of building a great financial foundation for not only ourselves, but for our families and our loved ones and the people that we care about most in our lives. So some of us have W-2s. Some of us don't have W-2s. Some of us have businesses. Some of us don't. We come from all different backgrounds, but real estate really is the common bond that links all of us together. And we are truly committed to providing you with the best information in our power. And certainly we're open and welcome to suggestions on how we can make any of these presentations better. But we have a passion for education because we have seen some people that we know and care about burned by bad real estate investments. And obviously, not only do you not want to go through that yourself, you certainly don't want anyone you know and care about to go through that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've been burned before,
Same.
right? And I thought I did my due diligence. The
Yes.
person was charismatic. They knew what they were talking about. They seemed like they knew the area. And this was over 2 years ago. We did an online background check on everything checked out except for some negative comments from previous businesses. And I was like, well, I brought that upon other people and they're like, well, I think it's better. And I was like, man, my gut at the time told me, I don't know about this, but I was too naive and too young to in the field to think, oh yeah, maybe they have changed, right? Now I know from now on, man, that's a big red flag, huge red flag, right? To
Alex,
not get into something like that.
you bring up such a good point. If you're expecting people to change, the only person who can truly change is yourself. Do not expect others to change their behavior, right? That's so true. You look, especially in healthcare, you always want to give people a second chance, right? Because sometimes you do, right? And
Right.
and most of the time in healthcare it works out, but that's one thing that doesn't necessarily probably translate to real estate. Second chances, no. There's no second chances in real estate. If you have a red flag at first, you go with it. Hey, Alex, I just wanted to get Jared had a really good question on the chat.
Oh, I must have missed it.
That I am
Jared,
not.
what was your question?
Yeah, Jared, can you repeat your question about the communication? It was weekly, monthly, I believe. I can't find it for some reason on the chat now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just was asking what is your preference on the communication time periods, weekly, quarterly? Like if you're in a deal and you want updates for that deal, how often would you prefer?
Yeah, and I can, for me personally, I'm good with monthly. You know, if there's something that has to be there's something special that has to be said, you know, before that, that's fine. You know, they can do maybe bi-weekly or, you know, or every other week. A quarterly, I think and I know, you know, some operators who do quarterly and that's fine. I think that that's maybe a little too, you're only communicating with them 4 times a year. I'd like to communicate with them 12 times a year and get a touch point there as opposed to 4 times a year. My personal preference only. Some people are okay with quarterly.
Okay.
I would say especially if a deal is a heavy lift, the monthly is crucial. A regular touch point is crucial when you are churning deals, churning units over and over. But once it's stabilized, I, as an investor, am okay with quarterly if it's a stabilized asset. But if there's massive construction going on, I like to know. But also, if there is something that went south, like, whoa, this was completely unexpected. Don't wait till the monthly or quarterly newsletter. Let your investors know right away, right? Because if something happens in a deal, let's pick a place in Texas, Southern Texas, right? Something happens within, I promise you, if it's big enough and there's enough people involved around it, within that week, someone's going to find out and it's going to be blown up across the multifamily space because it's a small space, right? So I would, as a investor, as an operator, let people know ahead of time, hey, newsflash, this is exactly what's happened. I want you guys to hear it from me first before trying to hear it from the grapevines type thing.
All right.
Thank you. Great points, Alex. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that.
Right. Now, for you guys, if you want to connect with us, chat with us even more, right? Hit us up online. We're on all social media, right? Facebook, Instagram. I'm not dancing on TikTok. My assistants are trying
We're
to
not dancing on TikTok yet.
Right. But reach out. That's what our mornings and Smitty said I should. Right.
Smitty, we're gonna follow your lead, okay?
Yeah. And the next one is how to pay. We're putting our classes into a schedule. This is our syllabi right here. Okay. How to pay less in taxes, right? That's our next class. That's going to be in February, our next webinar in February. And love for you guys to join. Now, today, we still have a few more minutes. I like to open it up. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Open it up. Anybody have any questions? Absolutely.
Yeah, or experiences that you like to share,
Yes.
right? I like to know who's been burned before and how would you do it differently now?
That's a great question.
We want to step up to the plate.
I don't know if I've been burned before, but I had some watching the people that have burned people before. It's crazy when you guys were talking about how they don't change. Like we know people who've burned people in one group that we all knew within the group. So I had met him. He was charismatic. I didn't do the deal, but we knew him. And then now I'm part of other real estate groups. And I saw him get blacklisted and he's not around anymore. And then all of a sudden he shows up in this other group using the same strategies, only perfected more. His portfolio looks stronger, his pictures look better, and he's preying on a bunch of people. And it's just kind of like I see it. And not only did he not change, he got better at what he's trying to do. Right.
At the con.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it was just like, I mean, you gotta be out there and watching out, because I see a bunch of people reaching out to him, and we're trying to stop that. But the amount of people that he's able to reach now, like I said, just got stronger. So
Right.
Jared was asking Michael, do you know how he burned the people? Was it money that he took? Was it the deal that wasn't good? Was it? I think that's what he's probably trying to ask.
Well, I know that I don't know too much of the details. All we knew is that we got bad feedback from the other people. But then when we researched him and started digging in, and we started using our skip tracing from like wholesaling and really digging into a couple other businesses in the past, we started seeing liens come up where he hadn't paid subcontractors, vendors, things like that, on top of his deals going south.
Got
So
it.
he had a lot of ideas and was showing his numbers, but his numbers were inflated for one. And I don't think his management that he was portraying of what he could do as far as construction and flipping wasn't as well as good as his portfolio looked on his own. And then whenever we started seeing the red flags on the subcontractors and vendors, to us is a big one. That's like a core value for our company, is that as a construction company, we always pay subcontractors, vendors way before it's due, as soon as they complete the work, stuff like that. And so that red flag, whenever we saw other businesses that he was hiding, kind of showing that he had dodged subcontractors, because we could find their liens on his properties that still hadn't been cleared up. And that's just, my wife's like an investigator. She gets crazy. I don't know how she found that stuff, but she started getting way deep
I
into
thought
it.
she was
But
a
she does that.
teacher.
Yeah, she does that on everybody that we potentially going to do a deal with. We do, like you guys said, do a background check, but we don't just background check. We try to go as deep as we can. But like Eric said, we would expect the same from people on us. We would want them to dig into us as much as they can and be completely transparent. So
I think that sounds like another business Vanessa should start, an investigative business on real estate. I'm telling you, like,
please
look,
don't try to have us start any more businesses.
right. You got to focus on the core, man.
Yeah.
And this is so true, Michael, what you just said.
Yeah.
Is I feel that a lot of people don't feel like they can ask others sometimes, like they have to do it on their own, right? Multifamily and real estate, commercial real estate is such a team sport. If something doesn't feel right, or if you just don't know, ask any of us on this call. I will say people should take a screenshot of this and just call each other and build a relationship. It's like, hey, if something doesn't feel right, hey, who knows? You probably know 5 other people in real estate, or someone knows 5 other people that can reach out and then just mastermind together about a person, about a deal. Be like, hey, because other people will see pitfalls that you may not see.
Mhm.
right? And that's so,
Very
so
true.
key to do it together instead of thinking that, oh, you're just on an island by yourself, right? And trying to knock it out. Emeka, you got your hand up. What's up, man?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm obviously I'm about a year and a half in, and I'm still trying to build credibility as a GP. So my focus is just building my social media and kind of like showing people what I do outside of work and try to contact people in market. What would you do, or what would you recommend people like me to continue to build that credibility, like experience investors?
Mecca, I think honestly, here's the thing. I mean, so you're already affiliated with a deal in Florida, right? A 10 unit that you guys have closed on and are operating. So that right there is going to really obviously increase your credibility. But I think to me, networking is a sport that never ever stops. I mean, still to this day, I network with at least 5 to 10 people in MIH, outside of MIH, etc. Because you never know when you're talking to another deal partner. So honestly, I have networking blocks in my day where that's all I do. I'll either contact people, I'll reach out to people. So that's what works for me personally. And I'm very easily accessible throughout the day. Some people are like, oh, what do you do during it? Like they assume I'm a full-time real estate investor because again, I'm talking at 11 at night, 7 in the morning, whatever it is. But to the other point, the networking blocks have really helped me structure and organize my day because again, some of your networking connections are going to be fantastic, right? And some of them will be like, okay, maybe we might not want to spend 40 minutes on this. Maybe it's not going anywhere. Maybe it's 15 minutes. So again, I think you're doing all that you can right now. I would just maybe even accelerate your networking efforts.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Emeka, I want to clarify that question or comment. Was it more so on how to network more or also how to seem or build more credibility within the networks that you're in?
I would say a little bit of both because I think obviously I'm a deal, but networking doesn't stop and one bad thing can ruin a reputation. So I just kind of want to build the transparency and the trustworthiness. And so let's say if something bad does happen in the future that I missed or something bad personally, I can go to these people and these people will trust me just because nobody's perfect.
Yeah, I would say part of it is looking at the deal that you currently are in and telling people, being transparent about the process. Like, hey, when we first got this deal, this is what happened. Almost like a case study, right? You think about in healthcare, in any business, you can do a case study on this. And by doing the case studies, other investors will see that you as a person can also see the pitfalls as well, that you're not just going in blind. And that may help, there's no doubt, that's going to help you build more credibility that way. And even new deals. One of the things I like to do is when people ask me about this deal, we'll tell them, here's the good things, right? Here's what I'm putting in. Here's what we're doing. Here's some of the potential. These are potential, like if a deal were to go south, this is what could happen, right? And you don't want to try to sugarcoat it. Like people will ask you, what's the worst thing that could happen? I was like, well, I guess we could all lose our own money. I mean,
That is the
let's
worst
be
thing that
real
can
about
happen.
it.
Right.
Let's be
Yeah.
real about it. What's the
Right.
worst thing? You want to hear the worst? I lose my money. You lose your money. Nobody's covering jack.
You put in 50K, you could lose 50K. That is a
Right.
possibility in any deal. Right.
But I want to tell you also, this is what our team is doing to help mitigate that risk. I'm not saying it's zero, but we're going to try to get it as close to zero as possible. Because, dude, I don't want to lose my money either. And this is where I have the problem with people who are not putting in their money. Is they might tell you they don't want to lose your money, but dude, do you think they would care as much about it if they had their own money in it? Right. That's where I
Exactly.
stand with that. That's why it's a hard no when Smitty asked that question.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, brother. Anytime. Anyone else want to share a story?
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of stories out there. Let's
We're gonna open it up.
hear them.
Smitty, you asked those questions. What are you running into, man?
Hey, there he is.
Hey guys,
Hi.
can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally haven't run into that experience yet, knock on wood. But I've run into like going into a deal with a bunch of people, right? And the deal I'm in right now, we have more than 17 people. So but
17 people, Smitty, you said in the deal?
yeah,
Okay.
more or less, I mean, it's going pretty well, but maybe in the future, what I would do again, I would probably just keep it to less than 5 people because it's a lot easier to communicate. It's a lot easier to have a clear roles on what everybody's doing. Um, but it's kind of my first deal in I was eager to learn and jump into the deal and get my feet wet to build my real estate resume. So I don't have no regret, but just in the future, I will keep in mind that, I want to keep it minimum to max 4 or 5 people.
Is
You
this
know?
a 17 people JV?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a 17 person JV. It's not a
That's
syndication.
a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Well,
Another quick-
the only issue with a 17 person JV is, okay, so again, I guess it's good that it's 17 because majority rules, you can go have a 9 to 8 vote on whatever you guys are voting on. But it's
Right.
just a lot of opinions to take into account. And no offense, I agree with you, Smitty. I don't mind taking 3 or 4 opinions into account, but 16 other opinions, that can be a little exhausting.
And I kind of went with the deal because I want to be involved in doing a lot of stuff, but with that many chefs in the kitchen, I was like, man, do I want to be another chef or do I just want to